Hey, so if you run a business and you haven't heard of AEO yet, you're definitely going to in the next few months. So it stands for Answer Engine Optimization, and you can kind of think of it as SEO, but for AI. And, most of us have spent like the last decade or so trying to show up in Google. Like, how do you get your customers to find you through asking something in Google? Well, now they're asking AI. And so by the end of this video, you are going to be well on your way to executing your own AI strategy so that when somebody asks a very specific question in AI, you will come up as the answer. Your product or your service will come up as the answer. Hey everyone, I'm Annie Hedgepeth. I'm the co-founder and CEO of PeopleWork, and this is the first video in a series on business operations in the age of AI through an engineering lens. It's kind of my forte, so I hope that you show up and learn something from it as well if you're trying to start your own thing. So AEO is one piece, and the future episodes will definitely cover messaging, design, accounting, and of course, PeopleWork. So let's get on with it. All right, so I'm going to start off with an embarrassing story. So last year, I was just hearing about AEO left and right on blog posts, podcasts, everything. And so, they were just talking about how people are going to AI to ask questions and get recommended for products and such more than they are Google search. And so I got very curious about my own product and service. And so I went to AI anonymously. I don't know if I went to an incognito browser and just used like the Google AI, or if maybe back then you could do a non-logged in ChatGPT. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, I asked very specific questions about my product and it didn't recommend my product. And I guess I wasn't really too surprised because I hadn't done a whole lot of work on AEO yet. But that was a great starting point. It was pretty discouraging. I mean, honestly, it kind of felt like impossible for a small business to ever get recommended on an AI platform when these behemoth companies already pretty much own SEO success. And, they've got full-time dedicated staff working on AEO solutions all the time. So honestly, I did feel very overwhelmed. But then I heard this podcast and it changed everything for me. So Ethan Smith was on Lenny's podcast. If you don't listen to Lenny's podcast, I recommend it. It's a great one, especially if you're in the AI space and in the product space. And yeah, my hope was sparked. It was fantastic. So I basically took everything that I learned from what he said about his AEO playbook, and I added some more stuff on my own. And in this video, I'm going to tell you everything that I've been changing over the last 6 months and how I've seen baby steps in the right direction. I'll show you what changed on both. So I've got two different websites. Hedge-Ops.com is where is my company website where we mostly talk about our consulting. And then PeopleWork.io is where we talk about our product, our app. And so the types of prompts that I used to make the changes will be in the blog post, which is on hedgeops.com, that I'll link to in the show notes later. And yeah, what I really have been pleasantly surprised by is how AEO continues to show me where I have a lack of clarity in my business messaging. So that gives me so many opportunities for improvement, because if you are not crystal clear, if you are not laser focused on a certain message, then your messaging is going to be very scattered, and it's going to be very difficult for AI to really pin down what you do and know how to recommend you when and where and why. All right, so what is AEO and why does it matter? I told you could kind of look at it as SEO, but for AI. But what it really is SEO plus citation optimization. So that just means you do all the things that you would for SEO, but then you also optimize to be cited by AI. SEO will rank your relevance, but AEO will determine whether or not AI should cite you as a resource for a particular topic. Can they trust you? So AEO is not a one and done exercise. It's really an ongoing practice. And so I'm going to show you the certain things that you can put in place and then forget about it. Like those are kind of a one and done. But at the heart of AEO is really building trust and credibility, not only with, AI, but with people. That's kind of how it works. And so that takes time and consistency. And honestly, I think it's really kind of wonderful that in order to get better cited, you just have to build credibility and build trust. And that's kind of what we all want to be doing anyway. So I'm going to talk about the 4 different levers you can pull as a small business to get ahead with AEO. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is structured data. So these are the hidden labels that AI reads on your website. I'm going to talk about semantic HTML, making pages that AI can actually extract and quote. And then I'm going to talk about LLMs.txt. This is publishing for AI directly. And then I'm going to talk about your offsite presence and just building credibility out in the wild. So let's get started with structured data. All right, so structured data. This is your first lever that you can pull. This is the hidden labels that AI reads. All right, I'm not going to lie to you. If you're a creative person, this is not the most exciting part of building your AEO story, but it definitely is an important one. And it's not hard once you get it in place. It's just you kind of forget about it. So if you're not technical and don't know what this is, do not be afraid. It's really not as complicated as it sounds. So our websites have 2 different views. There's the one that we can see, and then there's the one that the machines can see. I guess the machines can see both of them, but they really look at the behind the scenes stuff and we look at the front of the scenes stuff. So what we can see is a very decorated and lovely view designed for human eyes. It's the one that you spend most of your time working on, that you want to look really beautiful and great. And then what the machines see is basically all of the metadata that the machine needs to make a determination on your website. So I'm going to show you how you can figure out what your own schema is. So go to validator.schema.org right there. And then we're just going to do this live. We're just going to type in what mine work.io. So if you want to find out what your structured data is, you just throw your URL in there and you run a little test and it'll tell you. All right, so there we go. On the left, you can see the JSON code, and on the right, you can see a more human readable version of basically the same thing. And then you can really dig into it. And not all of this was here before I did this work on AEO. I really had to add a lot of the structured data in there. And now if an AI comes over here and tries to read this, it knows exactly what it's getting into. And that's just about the video object. And this is the website stuff. All right, so you can do that with your own website. And this is a great starting point. So there are 2 ways that you can hand over this data to an AI. You can either do it like as separate index cards or as one connected map. So the separate index cards would be like 1 per page, or you can kind of connect everything together and give the AI or the bot crawler or whatever it is a map to look at your website. But if those individual index cards don't reference each other, then AI just kind of has to guess how they're all related. On the other hand, let's say that AI lands on this very blog post that is about this video that I'm talking about right now. They will know that it was written by Annie Hedgepeth and that she is the co-founder of Hedge-Ops software and PeopleWork, and they created the PeopleWork app, and there's more on LinkedIn and all of these other references, and it's all on this connected map. So they only have one place to look, and then they know all this stuff about me. So why that's important is that it's able to verify my credibility this way because it asked around. So just like you would if you were verifying somebody's credibility, you would ask around. Even if you're hiring somebody, you check their references, right? So that's what it's doing. And all I'm doing is providing a reference sheet, right? these are the people that you can ask around about. So we collapse everything into one block with one graph array, simply so that it's just easier to reason about the site. So every page on my site emits exactly one. So this could include your company, your website itself, founder or person, a specific page, a blog post, a service offering. So you'll generate this template, whether you use AI to do it or a developer or whatever. You'll just generate this template except with your information on it. And you'll just do this once. And then every page will render its own. And you will use the prompts below this, right there, in order to create this on your own. And something I think is kind of cool, if you notice here, you see these same as blocks. These same as blocks basically are exactly what it looks like. You're basically telling AI, hey, these sites vouch for me. In technical terms, you're saying these profiles help to disambiguate the entity. So these are disambiguating who I am. So just go to LinkedIn and see who I am. Go to X and see who I am, or whatever. All right, let's move on to the next section. And this will show you what Google parses. So we can put, whoops, oh, there we are. Let's use Hedge-Ops. All right, so it crawled successfully. And, oh, I have 3 non-critical issues. If you have a lot of issues in here, what I've done in the past is taken what these issues are. Let's see how you find, oh, there they are. Oh, I don't have my address in there because we don't have a business address. But what you would do is I have just copied it into my AI agent and I said, hey, help me fix these issues. And it's able to do it really quickly because these are pretty low-hanging fruit fixes. And I usually just offload those to an agent to do. So anyway, that's it. Let's move on to the next section. All right, so the second lever that we can pull is Semantic HTML. And it's not as scary as it sounds, but this is just writing pages that AI can actually quote. So what if you showed up to the grocery store and there was like nothing on the packaging, just a bunch of white cans and boxes? I mean, I don't know about you, but I would probably just take one look at them and say, well, I have no idea what I'm buying, so I'm going to go somewhere else, right? Well, a lot of our websites are doing exactly that thing. So if you want AI to be able to quickly scan your website and know exactly what you offer, then you need to have everything well organized and labeled. And so I'll show you how to do that so that you can ensure that your site is just formatted in a way that AI prefers to read. And this is really like the lowest hanging fruit also. And most likely it's going to make the biggest difference in just your searchability. Okay, so let me go into a little bit more why semantic HTML matters for AI. So let's say that you're creating a section of text on your website and you choose to write it in a div. Well, that's kind of the same as writing or as going into the grocery store and seeing a box with nothing on it. It's just a generic box that could be anything in it, right? Same with a div. It could be anything. But instead, if you labeled it as, in your brackets article, then now AI is paying attention. It thinks, oh, well, I need to treat this as a standalone quotable thing with a known author and date, right? Because instead of a div, you put it in an article. So the same goes for header, time, footer, etc. If those tags aren't there, then AI just kind of has to guess at what's what. And we all know that AI is not very super good at guessing at what things are. So just labeling everything properly is really super important for AI citation previews. So let me show you what I changed. The first thing I did was I created a ticket in my ticket tracking system. And I first, in the description, said why semantic HTML matters, just so that my AI agent that would be working on this later would have a context of why I'm doing this. And then I gave instructions for the agent to audit my entire website and create a list of what needed to be changed, creating a ticket for each change. Not every single change, but every type of change. So here's the prompt that I gave the agent. All right, so I want to audit my website for Semantic HTML, blah, blah, blah. This is about my site. If you're going to use this also, remember to change everything in the square brackets to your own information. And then you can see at the bottom, also flag accessibility anti-patterns. So, while I was in there, I wanted to also change some other things that might flag my website negatively. So what came of this in my work and my agent's work was that it came up with a list that I have on the blog post over here of all of the things that I needed to change, all of these things. And then I had agents working on it one by one, and that was it. So I followed the same pattern with these changes as I did with the Semantic HTML. I had the agent create a list of what was needed to be changed and created tickets with all the details. And then I had agents working on them one at a time. And then, of course, I was reviewing every PR, well, really every change. I'm not the type that can just let AI have all the permissions to do all the things. I have to accept each one and know that it's doing the right thing. But I mean, you can do whatever you want, but that's what I did. So, and also I'll just give the disclaimer, yes, I did have agents doing a lot of things, but I also have a lot of really good CI testing so that I can, catch any problems before they hit production. And so, let's all be smart about what we do and don't do with agents, and just make sure that you know what's headed into production before it gets there. All right, so we're on to lever 3 now, and this is the LLMs.txt file. It's a little bit controversial. I mean, not controversial like a lot of people think it's wrong, but maybe some people don't think it's necessary, but other people see it becoming more prevalent, and so they're doing it. And I just think, it's low-hanging fruit. You might as well. It's not going to hurt anything. So this guy, Jeremy Howard, co-founder of Answer.ai, he wrote this big proposal to standardize on using an LLMs.txt file at the root of your website directory, just to provide information to help LLMs use a website at inference time. So the proposal is that you would have 2 files in your website for LLMs to use. The first is an LLMs.txt, and this serves as a curated index of pages with title, URL, description, grouped by section. So your sections would be like core, documentation, blog, personas, about, whatever. And then a second file would be called LLMs-full.txt with a concatenated full markdown of every documented page. So, like I said, there was some debate as to the usefulness of these files and if people would actually start adopting this practice. But actually, when places like Anthropic, Stripe, Vercel, Perplexity, and other major players began publishing their own LLMs.txt, a lot of folks, including myself, were just like, I might as well do that too. It seems like a good idea. All right, so here's how we generate ours. So we use Zola for our sites, which I've been really happy with. It's a static site generator. It uses the TOML front matter. So all of the pages are really just markdown files in a content folder. So this approach that I'm going to tell you can really be ported to any framework that has metadata on each page. You would just change it to fit your own field names. All right, so I created a post-build script that walks through my entire content folder. So remember I told you that I have everything in that content folder? Well, this script just walks through every single file, and then it emits both files, the LLMs.txt and the LLMs-full.txt, based on that content. So if we go to let's see, this is the Hedge-Ops website. Let's just go to LLMs.txt and see what it generated. See? So here we have the core pages, the blog. So this has all the blogs and their, subsequent descriptions. And it goes on. And that's it. So that gives the bot crawler some good context of what's there. And then let's see what my people work one looks like. people-work.io/LLMs. This one's a little bit different. I have more core pages here. And then I've also got a documentation section. And then I've got a blog. And then my about pages. And yeah, so you can see that if an AI or a bot crawler were to come here, it would know exactly what was going on. So let's look at the dash full and see what that looks like. Dash full. All right, so this has way more data. And you could see that the other one just had descriptions, and this one has a lot more information, and it just goes on and on and on because it's the full one. So, okay, I won't make you dizzy by looking at all that, but I just wanted to show you what that looked like. In DevOps, we always say we want to make the right thing to do the easy thing to do. Well, this same concept applies. We're trying to make the right thing to do for AI, the easy thing to do. All right, let's move on. So if you go to the associated blog post that I keep talking about that's in the description, you'll find that we put 2 stipulations on the files. So basically front matter tells it what to do, whether it's there or not, that it's idempotent, that it's a certain size, capped, and we need to make it discoverable. And so we'll put that in the robots.txt. So that's a very common convention that bot crawlers will use the robots.txt to find it. And so we put it as a comment in there because there's not a directive yet for LLMs. And so we put it as a comment. So that makes it easy to read by AI or humans. And so that's there. So anyway, if you want to see the full details of how to create that, just go to that file, just go to that blog post. It's super easy to read. So this is where we are determining what our presence looks like. This is where citations will actually come from. So this is the fun part. Once you finish with levers 1, 2, and 3, then all of the work that you will do with lever 4 will be amplified. So levers 1, 2, and 3 are tactical, while lever 4 is strategic. It's all about getting known for something. What do you do? What is that one special thing that you bring to the world, that your product or service brings to the world? So if you don't know someone and need to make a quick decision about whether or not you can do business with them, what did we talk about doing? You ask around. This is the same thing. AI is just asking around. So you had those same as arguments earlier. This is going even broader than that. Can it find your name on some very popular publication somewhere? Well, let's say that you're a baker and you wrote an extensive blog post about making sprouted whole wheat sourdough bread at altitude. As AI knows, as well as my baker readers, this is quite a feat. So in order for AI to know that it knows what you're talking about, it kind of needs to know who can vouch for you. It might see a King Arthur baking article, citing you as one of the foremost experts on sprouted whole wheat. And then it might, see that you're mentioned in Good Morning America because you did a whole segment on sprouting whole wheat at home. And then it might see that every sourdough influencer online has linked your article. So wow, you must really know what you're talking about. That's some great AEO right there. So when you show up in a bunch of these different sources, these sources are lending their credibility to you. So the bigger and more credible, the better. So showing up in a lot of different sources really kind of means more than ranking number 1. So let's say that in that example, King Arthur cites you 20 times or something, but you have nothing else. Well, that's not as good as having, 30 people recommend you just once. So it's a matter of more people vouching for you than just one person vouching for you a lot. So according to Backlinko's LLM sources study, LLMs used to really be sourced heavily from Reddit, but YouTube is now the fastest rising citation source. So this trend is something that you'll want to stay attuned to. Who knows if it's going to change again? It probably will. But this article that I'm showing you right here is a great resource. And it's also just kind of telling you, like, this is something that you need to stay on top of because it will change most likely. We have historically averaged about 6 words per search in like a Google search, but AI chat questions are really averaging about like 25 words per search or per question. And so that means that we're getting very specific and very granular with what we're searching. And this is really encouraging for early stage companies because this means that you don't need a ton of domain authority to be site-worthy. You just need to be able to answer the specific questions that customers are asking. And you need to know what those questions are that they're asking. And that means that we need to talk to our customers. We need to understand what their needs are, what they want, and what they care about. So here's your homework assignment. Identify a long tail question that you can own. What are specific questions that no one else has answered and that you can really, really nail? But the trick is, like I said, people have to care about that question. And so first you have to talk to people to understand what that question is. So while authenticity matters above all else when creating content, always be true to yourself and true to your message. There are some types of posts that really work well for AI site worthiness better than others. These are things like comparison posts. So like, this is the best X for Y. Those are the highest value single piece. Question titled blog posts. So, something like, how do new engineering managers build relationships with stakeholders? These are your long tail questions. And then YouTube, and then having a companion video with your top posts. That's really important. There's also a ton of directories online, which you might not even be aware of. I certainly wasn't before I did this. And they are where people learn about apps. So these include, but are not limited to, the following list, which I'm going to also put below because it's very important that you get your name on these lists if you're a product. One of them is called G2, Capterra, Alternative 2, and Product Hunt. And let me just show you some of these websites. Okay, so this one is G2. And basically you just search a software in there and it'll tell you a bunch of stuff about it. So let's just look at HubSpot. So people have graded it. You have a lot of information about it. It tells you what category it's in, who sells it, different things. So it's just a directory of apps, which I didn't even know existed. I think that this is really cool. I think that G2, I don't know if it's G2 that's mostly B2B. I know that Capterra is the next one. This one I know is very B2B. Again, not sure about G2. You need to look at that yourself. But again, you would just enter something in there. You could go to categories and try to find like, okay, what's a good IT and security app? And then, what's good cloud management? And then it tells you like some things that it recommends. What I'm thinking is that like IT departments probably use this a lot in determining things that they can get really good, reliable information on, the apps that they're recommending to their organizations. So that's really cool. There's another one called Alternative 2. And this is cool because it's like, I need something like Salesforce, but I don't want to use Salesforce. That one just, I don't know if they have any. Yeah, Salesforce. Alternatives to Salesforce. How cool is that? And then I just think this is so cool. So having your name on a list like this would be really cool. All right, last one is Product Hunt. Oh, this is just telling you like what's new. That's cool. And then, the best products for productivity, for note-taking. That's pretty cool. So your homework is to try to get your name on these sites. So you would just go to each of these, create a login, and do your best to find out which category you're in and have some references and stuff like that, and just try to start getting on those lists. Keep in mind that you may have to have a fully baked product or service before being included in certain profiles. So just wait until you're really ready. If you're in early access or beta still, then maybe wait until you've got some momentum behind you and go for it. All right, so the next thing we want to talk about is engagement. And this is so hard. Spending time online every day is just not good for my mental health, honestly. But if you can spend 30 minutes a week per channel, it'll just help you to be out there, to know what customers are asking and thinking, to be seen by all the bots that need to know that you're there. And then just to be, seen and mentioned by people. The more you can get people to recommend you, obviously, the better. It's organic growth, right? But then also Reddit participation is still important. It's not as important as it used to be, but it's still really good, especially for that human connection. Find your categories subreddit and be involved. Say who you are, give useful answers. It's very searchable by Google also. And then on LinkedIn, comment on your industry posts in your space. This not only gives you visibility, but the LinkedIn algorithm also really rewards this type of engagement as well. So in addition to your social media outreach, there's also listicles. Like, I know that sounds so boring, even just saying it out loud, but being included in a listicle is a really good thing. So this is like when somebody writes an article, like these are the 10 best note-taking apps, and then you're included on that. Again, you'll need to have a fully baked solution for this, but if you're ready for it, then start emailing the authors of these articles to request that you be included in their articles as well, and be very specific about why you fit and why you would be a great inclusion on this listicle, and then provide very confident examples of why you should be included. And doing all of these exercises will not only help you to expand your reach, but it's also going to help you in simplifying your messaging and just making it into a clear and memorable offering. For myself, I know that whenever I struggle to know what to say on certain posts, or if I'm asking whoever to recommend me or whatever, if I'm unclear about my pitch, that means I'm unclear about my offering. And that's information for me to tighten it up, know who my ideal customer profile is, and to really get that value proposition honed and clear and memorable. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is what we can measure and what passing actually tells us. So if you want to check what your grade is, what grade you're getting on AEO or SEO right now, then you can go to these sites and get audited for free in less than 5 minutes. Okay, the first thing you want to go to is pagespeed.web.dev. So what this is going to measure is things like performance, accessibility, best practices, SEO, things like that. So this is so vulnerable. Let's see what mine is. All right, let's do desktop, because I think I do have a couple of problems in mobile and I don't want to show you. I know what it is. I just need to fix it. Yeah. But desktop, I think, is good. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Look at those grades. Okay, so this is straight A's, right? I love this. Okay, so what you can do, look. So here's an issue that I have. If you want to outsource this to your AI agents, which I probably would, I would just copy this and say, all right, this is what I'm getting. Can you please fix this? And it's super easy, barely an inconvenience. But if you have a lot of these, if these are like failing grades or B's or C's, then you definitely want to just take these one at a time, maybe create a ticket for each one and, go through step by step. So yeah, if you have good scores, then that just means that your site is technically healthy, fast enough, accessible enough, using search-friendly basics and not hiding important information from crawlers. So that is what matters for AEO, but it's not the same thing as proving that an AI engine will cite or recommend us, right? It just means that it can if it wants to. So the next thing we want to do is try an AEO tracker. So HubSpot has this free AEO tracker that I want to show you. And you can put your company information in there, and it will give you a grade. And I'm not going to show you mine right now because when I've done this, I want to be able to talk about the data that I saw on it yesterday. And when I do this, it's slightly different each time. And I don't know that I will get the same grade each time, but I mean, that's AI for you, right? So I'm going to go back actually to my blog post. And this is where I put my grades. You can see there's my Lighthouse grades. Oh, when I did this yesterday, I had a 77 in best practices, but I fixed it since then. And it is, a high 90s now. So that was very encouraging. All right. So my HubSpot AEO tracker, this was what I did for Hedge-Ops, and this is what I did for people work. And these aren't super great grades, I'm not going to lie. But the point is AEO is much tougher than SEO because it's all about reach. And I'm just a baby company trying to, broaden my reach right now. And so I'm looking for those things that I can have breadth with. And so, I'm looking to be on other people's blog posts or podcasts or, whatever it is so that my reach widens. But you can tell right now it's just not there. And so people don't really know me. So something that I was particularly proud about was that Perplexity scored us at a 10 out of 10 on share of voice, while ChatGPT and Gemini were still low, 1 out of 10. Like, what in the world was going on there? Well, this is because Perplexity does live web retrieval. So perhaps the work that I had done in the interim, like just recently, as described in this post, all of the other things, is what's actually surfacing in that score. I mean, I can't say for sure, but each engine has a different way of doing retrieval and citations. So one engine's score is not enough to prove what has moved. So structured data and LLMs.txt may have helped with the discoverability and parsing, but citation-based reach is really the longer game. So these checks don't prove that AI is recommending you, but they do give you evidence that your pages are easier for crawlers and search engines and validators and AI-powered retrieval systems to, parse what's there. If you do want to know if you're actually getting recommended by AI, that's just still something that you got to do the old-fashioned way. You need to look at your website analytics, your referral traffic, your customer surveys. You can do direct prompt testing over time, all of that stuff. Got to do it the old-fashioned way. But running these tools that I just showed you, like maybe monthly or so, and treating them as diagnostics is still a really good practice for baseline system health. It's also something that I don't know if you can offload this to an agent, but that'd be kind of a nice job too, just to get a little report from it each month. So we are still working on naming the problem. I asked AI again to try to get it to recommend me or my product more recently, and it still didn't recommend my product. And I really started freaking out a little bit, like, why, after all of this work on AEO, is it not recommending me? But when I redid the audits, I realized that it wasn't really a problem with my site. It was more of a positioning problem. So all of these exercises that you do, even if you get to the end and you realize that AI is still not recommending you, it gives you data, and that is still really valuable. It showed me that I needed to refine my own clarity and fix what's broken. So then in the conversation with AI, I said, okay, well, why? Why didn't you suggest people work in this situation? And it said something to the effect of, oh, you know what? Actually, people work would be perfect for these reasons. So that told me that the work on my site and in my socials and all of that was really solid. And once it knew about me, it had a very clear picture about who I was. So then I said, well, why didn't you suggest me? And it went on to give all of the reasons that it didn't think to suggest us, like how, first of all, it confused our name with another product called PeopleWorks, all one word, which is a traditional HR software, and that we're still so new and don't have enough people talking about us just yet. So that put me into a tailspin, like, oh my gosh, do I need to change my name now or not? Or I don't know. That's a tomorrow problem. But what now? So my two big takeaways from that are that I need to get people to vouch for us in the form of reviews and listicles and mentions, etc. Like I said, broadening my reach. But positioning has to come first for all of this to even be possible. I need to be laser focused, laser clear, whatever. I am not deterred though. AEO is an ongoing practice. And if you listen, you will get valuable insights back. So where do you go from here? Well, if you do nothing else, paste your URL into that validator.schema.org today and just see what you're missing. The most important thing, though, to learn from this whole post is that having good AEO is really just an ongoing practice. Sure, the first couple of things that we talked about today are super fast. They can be done in a day or whatever. It doesn't take very long. But all the rest of it, expanding your reach, clarifying your messaging, all of that, getting people to understand what you're all about, that's an ongoing thing. That's business. That's when you start to see, when you start clarifying all of that, that's when you start to see the compounding effects of all your hard work. And hopefully you'll start to see that positively affecting your company's success. So if you'd rather not navigate all of that on your own, you're welcome to get in touch with me. And I'm happy to talk about how we can get you started and get you on your way with AEO. We can set up a call, see if I can help in any way. I'll put a link down below as well. But I really sincerely hope that this video and this post has gotten you a good head start on your AEO journey. And I really just wish you the best of luck with it. We're all in this together. I really want to see small businesses, solopreneurs, startups, excel. I think that now is the time for us. So let's do it all together. And if you need help with anything, let me know. Put a comment below if anything was unclear or that I can clarify anything for you. And yeah, good luck. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe because this is a whole series. And so you'll be learning more about messaging and design and all that stuff. And I'm just building in public over here so you can see my successes and my losses and, learn from my mistakes and my wins. So, all right, follow along and I'll talk to you later. Bye.